My store, Gavin's Hardware in Caldwell, is an extension of myself. Every nail, every bin of bolts, the smell of wood, oil, and dust. After the window was smashed and 3 chainsaws stolen last fall, I installed a system for cameras, window sensors, a vault-like door. I slept soundly until I started watching the recordings. The first time was on a Monday. I usually skim through the night footage over morning coffee, and I saw it. 3:17 a.m. The camera above the entrance, a shadow detaches from a larger shadow against the opposite wall, approaches the door with a quick, sliding motion. The door, I know this like the Lord's Prayer, was locked with 2 turns of the key and a deadbolt thrown inside. On the recording, it simply slides aside, just enough to let a thin, indistinct figure slip inside. No flash of a break-in, no grating sound, silence. The figure dissolves into the darkness of the main floor. My heart skipped a beat. I switched to the other cameras. View of the aisles, view of the register, view of the back exit. Nothing, emptiness. I sped up the playback to 64x, no movement, no flashlight beams. 8 hours later, at 6:30, I appear on the recording, unlocking the door from the outside. I checked the backdoor camera footage. It was sealed shut all night, the unsolvable riddle. Someone entered, and didn't leave, but in the morning, besides me, the store was empty. I blamed a camera glitch, a trick of light and shadow. But the next night, again, 3:17, the same shadow, the same silent entry, but this time, it lingered inside. The camera above the paint aisle captured a liter can of motor oil sliding off the top shelf on its own, without the slightest nudge, and smashing on the floor. The plastic cracked, a black puddle spreading on the concrete. A minute later, another can of linseed oil, then another, as if an invisible child was mischievously knocking them off the shelf. Then, movement stopped. Again, no one on the exit. In the morning, I was scrubbing the floor, the smell of linseed so thick it stung my eyes. I'm not a coward. I decided to take matters into my own hands. The next night, I stayed inside, hid in the back room where I keep documents, left the door ajar. In front of me, a laptop with 4 live camera feeds. In my hand, a heavy pipe wrench. My heart hammered in time with the ticking of the wall clock in the main room. Exactly at 3:17, there was a click, that same muffled, dull click of the front door lock. I stared at the screen. All 4 feeds showed empty aisles, bathed in the dim light from street lamps outside. No shadows, no movement, but the built-in microphone on the central camera picked up sounds. Quiet, clear footsteps on the concrete floor, the creak of a wooden shelf, as if someone leaned on it, a rustle, as if a box of nails was being gently shifted. I froze, trying to pinpoint the location by sound. The footsteps approached the register, a light, metallic pling, the sound of something tapping the empty metal coin bucket. Then silence, long, for about 15 minutes. Then the footsteps receded deeper into the store, toward the back door, and again, nothing. I didn't hear a door open or close. The screen still showed emptiness. I sat there, petrified, until dawn. Only when the first light hit the windows did I dare to step out. The store was empty, everything in its place, except for that coin bucket by the register, which was slightly off-center, and lying on the counter, in plain sight, was my key, that same, only key to the front door, which I'd been clutching in my sweaty palm all night. It was cold. After that, I understood I was dealing with something that didn't fit the concept of a break-in. I replaced all the lock cylinders, installed modern motion sensors with a loud siren, and they triggered, exactly at 3:17 every night. The siren wailed for a minute or 2 and fell silent. I drive over, turn on the lights, empty. The cameras, recording on motion, didn't capture a single pixel except the flash of light from my lamp when I entered. But there was one anomaly, the silent witness. A tiny glitch in the matrix. Reviewing the static frames the camera takes every second in standby mode, I noticed a discrepancy. Every morning file following a visit was 1 to 2 seconds longer than it should have been, as if someone had manually extended the recording, and these added frames showed nothing. The same empty hall, the same shadows from the shelves. But this manipulation of time was more terrifying than any image. Someone or something had access not just to my store, but to the digital system. It was erasing itself. Now, I'm not afraid of a break-in, not of theft, I'm afraid of the store itself. I come in the morning, and paranoia grips me. The cold key in the lock. Did someone else inside wait for it? I hear the creak of old shelves under the weight of stock. Is it caused by an invisible presence leaning against them? I stay after closing to do inventory, and every rustle, Every click of the heating system makes me turn around. I catch myself unconsciously counting my own steps. Are there enough of them? The fear has shifted. It's no longer about someone coming in, it's about it already being here. Maybe it always has been, standing behind the counter while I served customers, sitting in the corner of the back room while I counted the day's earnings, and now, knowing that I know, it simply stopped hiding from the cameras, because it no longer needs to. Sometimes, finishing up, I turn off the lights and look into the thickening darkness of the main floor, and it seems to me that silence there isn't empty, it's attentive, and it's waiting for me to leave, to take control of the space again, to continue its silent, purposeless patrol of my domain. And the most terrible thing, I'm starting to doubt who this store really belongs to me, who bought it and pays for it, or to the one who comes every night at 3:17, whose presence has become as much a part of this place as the smell of wood and dust. In our Liberty Village condo, everything was smart: the lights, the locks, the thermostat, and, of course, the doorbell camera by our apartment entrance, a little black lens that was supposed to bring peace, a notification on the phone. Face detected, simplicity, until that simplicity malfunctioned. The first video I found by accident, scrolling through the event log in the app looking for a delivery clip. In the list, among daytime videos of neighbors, was a recording labeled 4:03 a.m. Face detected. My heart skipped. Ray and I were sound asleep at 4 in the morning. There'd been no notification. I tapped the thumbnail. The recording showed the view of our floor's common hallway door, our apartment. To the left, the stairwell door, which is always closed, was slightly ajar by a centimeter, and in that dark crack, part of someone's eye was visible, motionless, observing. The recording lasted 3 seconds and cut off. I checked my phone's notifications from that night. Silence, not a single peep. This was the unsolvable riddle. The system recorded an event but stayed silent about it in real time, as if someone had access to the archive but not the triggers. The next visits were even subtler. A recording. 2:15 a.m. Motion detected. The clip, a shadow sliding across the floor of our hallway from under the door. Recording. 5:41 a.m. Sound detected. A quiet, distinct knock of knuckles on our door. We never heard these sounds, never got alerts, but they appeared in the log regularly, delayed by exactly 12 hours. During the day, I'd see what happened at our door. At night, Ray, a programmer, tried to rationalize a firmware glitch, network interference, caching, but his face grew tighter, especially after that video where our own front door slowly, silently, opened from the inside. The frame showed a sliver of our entryway and the security chain dangling, unlatched. This was during the day. On a Wednesday, we were both at work. When we returned that evening, the door was locked, the chain hung straight. We called the camera services tech support. A manager with a voice pumped full of caffeine and indifference assured us the system was fine. Most likely, recordings were cached due to a temporary cloud connection loss and uploaded later, creating the illusion of events. We recommend changing your Wi-Fi password. This was the toxic kind of help. Their explanation sounded logical but didn't explain the main thing. The content of the recordings: a shadow, a knock, a door opening from within. These weren't glitches, this was a narrative. Ray rebelled. If the cloud lies, we'll store everything locally. He spent a weekend writing a script that bypassed the official app and pulled the video feed directly from the camera to an old laptop with a big hard drive. No cloud, no smart analysis, raw data. This was our digital palisade. On the very first night, the system failed, or rather, died, at 3:17 a.m. The laptop in the living room made a short, rasping sound like a fuse blowing and went dark. The camera in the hallway died. The apartment fell into an unaccustomed, tomb-like silence without the quiet hum of electronics. In the morning, Ray, grim-faced, fiddled with the laptop. It booted, but the script was killed. There's something on the drive, he muttered. He opened the folder with the raw video files, and we froze. Alongside the expected short clips from the door camera, there was another folder, name Archive. Inside, hundreds of files, thousands, all with dates and times going back a month before the first strange recordings in the app. Ray opened one at random. On the screen was our living room, filmed during the day. I was sitting on the couch with a book. The angle was impossible. High up, almost at the ceiling, in a corner where there was no camera and never had been, no smart device. Next file. Ray cooking dinner in the kitchen. Again, an angle from the ceiling. Another. Us arguing about a movie. Another. Me crying after bad news from home. It was a chronicle of our lives, filmed by a hidden camera we never knew about. We scrolled through the files in stunned silence, Ray's sweaty fingers sliding over the touchpad. Everything was there, our arguments, our laughter, our most ordinary, private moments, and the last file, created last night at 3:17 a.m. The moment of the crash, Ray clicked it. On the screen was our bedroom, in the dim light of street lamps filtering through the blinds. Ray and I were asleep. I was on my side, he was on his back. The camera was somewhere above our closet, looking straight at the bed, the filming angle. From inside the room, I turned around. Our closet, the smooth, white surface of its top, nothing, no slit, no lens, but on the video, we saw ourselves sleeping, right now, in real time. That had already become the past. Ray yanked the laptop's power cord from the outlet. The sound was deafening in the silence. We sat on the living room floor, staring at the black, dead screen reflecting our fear-distorted faces. Tech support, neighbors, the police, all of that now seemed like child's play. The problem wasn't the cloud, a glitch, or a hacked Wi-Fi. The problem was here. Someone or something had installed its own, far more sophisticated surveillance system in our apartment, and that doorbell camera, our protector, wasn't glitchy. It was bait, a diversionary tactic so we'd dig through its logs, argue about caches and clouds, while the real observation was happening from another, invisible angle. And the most terrifying thing, that last file, it proved the system was still active. It survived the local recording crash. It was somewhere here, and it was watching, right now, possibly from that same ceiling angle. We didn't start searching, didn't call anyone, we're just sitting here on the floor, trying not to move, not to speak, not to show that we know, because if we start looking for the camera, the operator behind it will see, and if we don't see it, maybe it will let us think we're safe. For a little while, we're not afraid of a break-in, we're afraid of our own home. Every outlet, every light fixture, every vent. We live in a transparent aquarium, and someone has been watching with interest for a long, long time as we swim in circles. And now, knowing this, we freeze, trying to guess, at what exact moment will our quiet, digital keeper decide not just to observe, but to start interacting. The rhythm of my life in the Boston suburbs was measured by trips, to work, to school, to my son's hockey practice, to the mall. My minivan smelled of old crackers, sports gear, and takeout coffee. I installed the dashcam with parking mode after someone scratched my side mirror in the driveway. It clicked quietly, recording a circular panorama every minute when the car was parked and capturing a continuous stream while driving. A digital sentry, nothing more. The incident happened on the way back from practice. Some jerk in a pickup truck ran a red light on Memorial Drive. I slammed the brakes, tires screeched, the kids yelped in the back seat, adrenaline pounding in my temples. Later, at home, when the kids had calmed down, I loaded the recording from the SD card onto my computer, wanted to make sure I wasn't at fault, just in case. The recording showed me, my minivan, the road, and the car, an old, dark sedan, faded to the color of wet asphalt, a Chevrolet, some ancient model. It was 3 cars behind me when I pulled out of the rink's parking lot. It was there when we passed the mall. It maintained distance when I slammed on the brakes, and then, when I, still shaking with rage and fear, turned toward our house, it simply continued straight, dissolving into the traffic flow. I exhaled, random fellow traveler. The next day, returning from the supermarket, I idly scrolled through the recording, and I saw it again. The same sedan, the same distance. That evening, driving my daughter to music lessons, it was there again, always 3 or 4 cars back, never approaching, never falling behind. Like a shadow, it became an obsession. I became the silent witness to my own commutes. While driving, I constantly checked the mirrors, searching for the dark silhouette, but it was never there, just the usual traffic flow. White crossovers, silver sedans, bright SUVs. I caught myself staring into the rearview mirror longer than at the road ahead, but the sedan only appeared on the digital tape, only in the past, which could no longer be changed. The unsolvable riddle was splitting my reality. How could it be on the recording but absent in the moment? I checked the timestamps. They matched my memories of the trip. I thought of a glitch, duplicated files, but no, each recording had different details. Different cars around, different weather, but it, constant. Then came the incident at the post office. I stopped for 5 minutes to mail a package. The recording shows me getting out and walking toward the building, and behind me, across the street, that same sedan pulls over and stops. I froze at the screen. The dashcam's wide angle and low resolution gave a grainy picture, but it was enough. The sedan's driver didn't get out. He did something inside, then he raised and pressed against his side of the windshield a large white sheet of paper. On it, written by hand in sprawling black letters, was a message. I am here to remind. Cold pierced me through. Remind of what? I feverishly dug through my memory, trying to find any hint of an old Chevrolet, a threat, an old mistake. Nothing, only the white noise of daily routine. I began to fear not the road, but the moment I would insert the memory card into the computer. The parking mode sometimes triggered at night from street movement, and once, checking the morning clips, I saw it. The sedan was parked across the street from our house, in the shadow of an old maple. Nighttime, in the morning. Frame, taken at 6:12 a.m. As the streetlights were switching off, the driver's window was rolled down, and inside, on the passenger seat, lay a stack of those same white sheets, a neat pile, as if they were prepared in bulk. I couldn't take it anymore and went to the police. An officer, young, with the weary look of someone who'd seen it all, listened to me, reviewed the files on my laptop. He nodded. Then he asked permission to copy a few specific files, the ones where the sign and the car at night were clearly visible. We'll check the metadata, plates if they're there, he said. 2 days later he called. His voice was even, professionally neutral, but held a slight puzzlement. Mr. Hayes, we checked the geotags and timestamp metadata and the EXIF data of your video files. Those specific clips you provided, they couldn't have been recorded on those dates. What do you mean? According to the data embedded in the file, the video with the sign was recorded 3 years ago, and the one with the car on your street 5 years ago, even before you, according to the registry, bought that house. My breath caught. I sat in my living room, looking at my own minivan outside the window. But that's impossible. I watched them myself. They're in the main feed, most likely a firmware failure in the dashcam. It could have taken old, corrupted data from memory and overlaid it onto new files, creating this collage. A bug. It happens with cheap electronics, the officer said, and his voice took on notes of the toxic kind of help. He was offering a rational explanation meant to soothe, but it only soothed on the surface. It didn't explain the content, didn't explain the message, didn't explain where those old recordings with my own car and the frame came from. The case was closed. Technical malfunction. I threw out that dashcam, threw out the memory card, bought a new, expensive one with cloud storage, but the fear didn't leave. It transformed. I was no longer afraid of the specific dark sedan. I began to fear reality itself. I stopped trusting recordings, stopped trusting my own memory. What if it, too, caches old, forgotten fragments, passing them off as the present? What if that incident at the intersection, the reason I got the dashcam, wasn't quite as I remember either? Now I constantly look back, not just in the rearview mirror. I look back in life, backward, into a past that, it turns out, can be digitally stitched into the present. I drive the kids, smile at my wife, but part of my mind is always occupied with a maddening, exhausting check. Is this happening now? Or is it already recorded? And waiting for its moment to appear on some future screen, as a reminder of something I could never quite recall, but that, it seems, remembers me. And sometimes, in the flow of traffic, I still imagine I see the dark silhouette of an old sedan. I strain my eyes, peer, but it always turns out to be something else, because the real threat, I now understand, was never in metal and gasoline. It's in the fragility of human memory and the malleability of digital reality, which together create a trap with no exit, only an endless loop of doubt.